Hey everybody, welcome to Field of Dreams on ACTN. I'm Steve David and I'm your host. Today I want to talk to my panel, small panel, got two my buddies to talk about up close and personal because I've been thinking, guys, before I introduce you guys, I've been thinking, um, does my viewers really know you guys? And I am thinking, Steve, do you really know these guys? And then I was saying, the little that I know, I need to know more. So I decided to come up close and personal, put you guys on the spot. We talk barbershop discussion on our careers or where we started, where the dreams start, and all of that. So let me introduce the two um, champions. Jefferson George, welcome to Seth Jefferson.
Thank you, Steve. Always a pleasure to be here.
And Dexter Cyrus, welcome to Seth Dexter.
Morning, Steve. Nice to be here.
And to be honest, both of you, I have limited football background on knowledge on you guys because I was outside playing ball, and then when I stopped, I continued to live outside, and you guys were here doing your magic and taking the dream a little further. So let's put Dexter on the hot seat first.
Yeah.
And then with the time left, otherwise, we will come back and do you another time, Jeff, if we could. But so we both going to question him on how he did, where he did it, and how it turned out. So, Dexter, you on the hot seat right now, right? So when did the dream start for you?
My football dream started in Palo Seco as a ball boy, right? I was a ball boy for the Trinidad Tesoro team with Eddie Jones and Martin Warwood and Chris Hospitalis. Brian Williams was a very young Brian Williams on that team. But Mr. Shah, Sherland David, lot of upstanding seniors at the time. But you had a dream. You have the dream as the ball boy. One day I want to play there. I want to play with them. I didn't get to play with that crop much. Coach Edgar introduced me as I wasn't 15 yet and I made the national under 17 team, and then Coach Edgar introduced me to come to train with the big team. That in itself was an honor. That was a real big thing when you get to train with the big team, because usually, like maybe every 2-3 months, he would take about 3-4 boys from the under 17s, the under 19s, and bring them to train with the senior team. And I got to train with the senior team, and one day he told me, he said, come tomorrow with your girls. And I was like, what? They mean come with my girls? He said, yeah, come tomorrow with your girls. You deserve that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And he put me on the bench, and then he introduced me into a game in Skinner Park. And I was 14 years, a 14-year-old, but I was pretty quick, pretty strong. So, fighting up with the bigger boys, bigger men. And he introduced me into a game in Skinner Park, and I went on and I scored on debut. And as a matter of fact, that scoring on debut, that stayed with me my whole life. The first time I played for Trinidad and Tobago as a youth player, under 17, I scored a double on debut. I scored on debut the first time I played for Tesoro. I scored when I went to fire services, I scored on debut. When I went to police service, I scored on debut. And
You play with police service as well?
I played for the police. Yeah,
You knew him, Jefferson?
Yeah, yeah.
he knew me from fire service. We played at fire services together.
Okay.
Me and Jeff played, yeah, and my biggest debut performance was scoring a hat trick on debut for Trinidad and Tobago, which put me in the record books. So I am actually the first player to score a hat trick on debut for the Trinidad and Tobago national senior team, and I received a accolade from FIFA. Well, that was in the Jack Warner days.
Who was the
Right.
coach that time?
The coach when I scored that hat trick was Mr. Kenny Joseph.
Or Kenny Joe? KJ?
Yeah, in 1994, the Shell Caribbean Cup. We won that Shell Cup, and I top scored for Trinidad and Tobago in that competition. Yeah, so
You see what I'm talking about? I don't know this kind of stuff.
yeah, so
And I've been
yeah.
here and dealing with Dexter and don't know all
Got
that.
I got a large medal with a nice little mark, Legends of Soccer from FIFA. The presentation was made when the strike squad played the America team. I think it would have been 20 years later. Brought them back in the stadium, and we played them again. And a nice ceremony, Jack Warner and they organized and recognized players and people for certain things. And I was recognized for scoring that hat trick on debut.
When did your dream start, Jefferson?
Well, my dream actually started in sports as an athlete. Actually, I was a sprinter. We played all sports, my brother and I, and along with my neighbors. So I was known in primary school, going into secondary school as a sprinter, doing 100 and 200 meters. And my elder brother, Jason, he played with the school team. And well, obviously, I wanted to play football, so I played football at home. And being well, with the both of us, we would normally play one against one, in a big goal. We had a big yard to the side, so yeah, to save, I had to be your own goalkeeper as well.
Growing up with our brother,
So that is where really I began developing a passion for goalkeeping. The first year I went to try out for the school team, though, secondary school, I played in defense, where I saw my brother playing. When we began to train, they didn't have a goalkeeper, and that's how I ended up going into the goal. I never came out, really, right? Literally never came out the goal. Yeah, so my development from football again was quite rapid. So I made the school team that year, played the entire season. At that time, I was playing cricket as well, fast bowler. And 2 years after that, Princeton Senior won the Intercol. Right, I was the young kid on the bench, and the following season, I would have taken over as the starting goalkeeper.
You guys played against each other or came up around the same time?
No, the first time I saw Dexter Cyrus was as a 18-year-old being called to train with the national senior team alongside Russ Russell and Clayton Ince, Hayden Thomas. I was the young kid in the bunch. Issa Mohammed and Hannibal Naja were coaches, and Dexter Cyrus just came back from Portugal with his long jerry curls and stuff like that. And I remember seeing him playing because me and my brother said we looked at football, we listened to football on the radio, so I knew who he was, and that was the first time I met him. And years after, we lined up together playing for Fire
Fire
Service.
Services.
So what did you think about Dexter before I go to Dexter?
Dexter was he was outstanding. Dexter was
Not
he
because
was,
he's sitting
no,
there
not because
next
he's
to
sitting
you.
there.
All right.
JD, come on.
What
on
do you
now.
think
They
about
could,
him?
they
Yeah.
could, I mean,
Well,
people who know Dexter, I mean, again as a striker, it's a special position, and as he
Tell
mentioned
me.
himself,
Yeah.
he could score goals. He could score goals. You know, there are persons who play the position because they probably have some tools that is useful to the team, but he was really, really a top striker, really aggressive, strong, powerful, fast. I remember the game Petrotrin against DC United in the at that time we used to call it the not the Champions League, but that was the
Champion of Champions? Like,
yeah, like the
different
winners
leagues?
of the different leagues.
yeah, Champion of
Yeah,
Champions.
and
Yeah.
Petrotrin again a really, really powerful team.
call it
right?
CONCACAF Cup or something.
CONCACAF, yeah, something. The name is now changed, but the level of the competition was quite high, right? DC United
Quite
had
high.
about 7 American national players, right?
And Marco Echeverry was on
Marco
that.
Echeverry, right? You know, really popular South American player, and they lost that game. Petrotrin did lost the game 1-0. We looked at that game here, and Dexter was one of the players, along with Peter Prosper, playing, striking for Petrotrin. So those are the things that I remember about him.
What year was all of this, Dexter, that you were doing all this magic? What year was that? When it started, or what he's talking about?
What,
What year is
the
he talking
CONCACAF
about?
Cup?
Huh?
Or when?
That was about what year? 19 something, 20s?
I think it's the CONCACAF. When we played CONCACAF, that was I think 1997,
97?
right?
Okay.
That was one of as a team that was one of Petrotrin's better performances, even though we didn't get a result. But we were never in a situation like that before. We had won the CFU part of the tournament, beating Theodore Whitmore and the right back from Jamaica who died in the Hagler, who died in the car crash, and
Right.
and Dawes and
Portmore.
Portmore. The national goalkeeper. That Jamaican team had all the Jamaican national players on it, and it was like Jamaica national team playing a Trinidad national team, because Petrotrin was blessed with present and ex-national players. So even though Brian and Clayton and Larry J and Dexter Francis and they weren't playing anymore, we still had myself, Prosper, Anthony Sherwood, Sherwin Julian, Darrell John, all the Seals brothers, and those players like that. We didn't get a result on the night, but we felt really, really proud. And America had a way that they used to rate players from 1 to 10. So on our team, myself and Ken Francis, we got 8.5.
Right.
2 high ratings, right?
Out of 10.
Out of
obviously.
10.
Yeah.
Right? And everybody else was like 7 and 2. The team got high ratings even though we lost. But we played against Anthony Sane and Eddie Pope and Jeff Agus and John Hawks and Echeverry and Scott Garlick in goal. And we played against a real tough team at that time.
So your local team was Petrotrin,
Yeah.
and then you turned pro, or you had other local teams that you played with?
Yeah, from Petrotrin, I went to Portugal. And then came
Portugal?
back from Portugal. I went to Fire Service and then Police Service.
So you came back from Portugal and played with Fire Services.
And played for Fire
then-
Services. And then
Police.
Police Services. And then I came back to Petrotrin as a youth coach. And
You guys ever came up against each other?
No, I never
Nah, I never-
played against him.
in training.
Training.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, in
Yeah,
training.
whatever.
in training, yeah.
So
Struggled to score against me too in training.
Yeah,
That's why
yeah.
I know.
I struggled to score against
Yeah.
it.
you had problems?
until-
score, but not against
Until I
you?
understand how to get down in the corner.
Yeah. Yeah. Those moments for me again, because I was again pretty young. I had a great opportunity that for me it was a learning experience. I look back at it today, and at that moment, you didn't realize how big it was. You know, looking back at it now, you're like, you know, I was really,
Good.
yeah, I was operating on a different, level for my age, and for me, I remember, the players like the Arnold Dorikas and so on. I would want those players to score on me. So,
Right.
it really brought out the best, and it was a fantastic experience. And
So-
again, we went on to share a lot of time after that, even meeting up at TN
At TN Tech, yeah.
Oh, you
where
played
we
TN Tech together?
where we
No,
we were coaches,
coaches
yeah,
together.
both coaches together.
After playing together, we started coaching together. Yeah.
So Dexter, how you got from Trinidad to Portugal? How did that happen? Because some of the younger guys looking on might be interested.
An agent by the name of Jose Francisco
Mm-hmm.
was in the Caribbean, and he asked Leonson Lewis if he would recommend any players.
Local.
Myself and Leonson Lewis, we were staying in the same room,
Mm-hmm.
right? We were staying in the that would have been this. The tournament was kept in St. Kitts, and we were in the Sandals. Trinidad and Tobago and Jamaica stayed in the Sandals
Playing.
resort,
Yeah.
right? And
No, Leonson was in Portugal already.
no, he came home to. He was already a professional,
Well, that's what I'm saying. Yeah.
but
Okay.
he came home to play the
Right.
Caribbean
Play that-
Cup
yeah.
tournament.
Okay.
So, no, I have it wrong. This is when we played. This is when we played in the Cayman Islands.
Okay.
Right. That's when I was discovered by Jose Francisco, and myself and Leo stayed in the same room, and he told me, he said, well, our agent asked, and I told him about you, and would you be interested in going to Portugal? And I was like, what?
Of course.
What? I said, that's my dream.
Yeah.
He said, okay, no problem. He said, just go out, do your best, you're not under any pressure and that kind of thing. And I went out and I did my best, and I think maybe about 4 or 5 days after the tournament, I was in Portugal. Again, train for about, the coach say, every time they test me for my fitness, he say, you're not ready yet. And every 10 days they tested me. And it took me about 4 tests, 40 days, maybe about, let me say, a month and a half. And then he said, right, you're ready.
So that,
And I shed
On
some,
debut.
and I scored on debut again.
but so 40 days to get ready. That means you didn't like training.
For me, yeah, I was. But you see, what they considered fit in Portugal is totally different in Trinidad.
I understand that.
Yeah, you couldn't like training with Edgar Vidal.
Okay, well, hold your tongue. Let's take a break, and when we come back, we'll pick up where we left off. Viewers, we'll be right back after this short break.
Harvard packed with stars, and I scored 4 goals in the first 20 minutes.
Okay.
Unknown now, the national senior team trainer, who is Ken Henry, would have made a call to Jimmy Black, who is the national under-17 coach. I don't know that is happening. That's happening outside. Call Jimmy Black and tell him, I have a kid for you to take a look.
Okay, welcome back, viewers. So, like I was saying, Dexter, that means you didn't like the train, but so I know we have bad habits, and when we get out as being professionals, it changes. So I'm gonna bring you back into Trinidad. You too, Jeff. Bring you right back into Trinidad now, because you didn't go out, but I'll bring
Yeah.
you back a little bit. How you got discovered as a national player before you make that transition, and you too as well.
My discovery as a national player, right, started one morning. My academy in Palo Seco had arranged a game to play against Harvard, King George V Park.
And you were playing for who?
I was playing for
Palaseco.
Palaseco.
All right.
So that same morning, my mother told me that I had to go youth group outing, and I can't go to play. All right, but remember, in those times, I have nothing like no cell phone or nothing like that. So
I understand. You're talking to me.
I took all my, I took my gears and stuff, and I walked to the right where about 40 yards from my house, and I hid it in the drain, in the culvert, and I had everything planned out. So I got up the morning, and I went across the road in the center. That's where the Maxi was, and I jumped on the Maxi, and the Maxi went, and my mom was of the impression that I'm on my way to
School?
youth group.
Oh, you go?
Youth group outing. Youth group had an outing. And I told the driver of the Maxi that I wasn't feeling well. Complained that I was feeling sick. And that I want to go back home. He said, well, he can't turn around, so he will drop me out. So I dropped out up at Palaseco Junction and took a car, came back down the road, dropped out right by the drain, by the culvert to get my gears. And when I came down into the drain to get my gears, my mom's is coming down the stairs from home to go to work. That's Saturday morning. She's a nurse. And the dog recognized me in the drain and came and back in. And I just praying that my moms don't come to see what this dog is barking at.
Right.
She flagged on her car, and she jumped in the car, and she left. I jumped out of the drain, jumped in a car, and went down to the club. Into the Maxi, up to Harvard. We are playing Harvard. Harvard has Dennis Lawrence, a young Brent Sancho, Moose brothers. I think this guy who was coaching Army the other day, thickish look, kind of red guy. Real quality players that we don't know about. Terry St. Louis, Harvard, packed with stars. And I scored 4 goals in the first 20 minutes.
Okay.
Unknown now, the national senior team trainer, who is Ken Henry, would have made a call to Jimmy Blah, who is the national under-17 coach. I don't know that is happening. That's happening outside.
Mm-hmm.
Call Jimmy Blah and tell him, I have a kid for you to take a look at. And Jimmy Blah came, and I went back on second half. Within 10 minutes of the second half, I would have scored another 2 goals. Then my coach took me out, and they introduced me to Mr. Jimmy Blah. And Mr. Jimmy Blah said, well, I want you to come and start a train with the National Under-17 team from this Saturday, next week Saturday coming. I had to go. That would have been in St. Mary's Ground. And that was it.
The outing really was...
That was it.
that was in Pino.
That was it.
How did you get this call?
That was it there.
Well, after playing my first season, my first full season of Intercol, I made the College All-Star team. The College All-Star team that year went to Norway on...
A College
on a
All-Star
tour.
team went to
Yeah,
Norway?
yeah. Right. So I was one of the 2 players from South making the team. We had guys like Jason Scotland, Latapi, the young Latapi. We had a good few guys who went on. Manswell, went on to represent national teams and so on. So I came back home, and my cousin, my elder cousin Nigel, he plays for San Fernando Giants. So he called me, 17 years old, to go to play with his team, Giants, with Dr. Henderson and they. And I thought I was going to look at the game, right? They got me registered, and the next game I was, in goal for San Fernando Giants. And I mean, I was still in school, so that experience for me was when I first really got noticed. As a young boy growing up, I was an early developer, and I was quite big while going to school as well. So that being a goalkeeper wasn't a hindrance. Normally, some of the goalkeepers are a little smaller. And from there, Isa Mohammed saw me. So I didn't play national under 17. At 18-year-old, I was training with the senior team, right? Because the tournament would have been the year before that. And so I trained with the senior team before I went on to play with the national 20 team. So that was...
Give me an idea of your highlight moment in Trinidad first. I wonder what you think was your highlight. What do you think that
I have quite a lot of highlights,
Give me the most, the one you had as top highlight.
In Trinidad?
In Trinidad. National or local, it doesn't matter. But in Trinidad, and then we'll take it outside.
Scoring a hat-trick on debut for Trinidad and Tobago.
Against
Dominica. Here, in the Shell Caribbean Cup 1994. The picture, the famous Trinidad and Tobago picture with Pele in the middle. I'm the man holding Pele's hand.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I'm the guy with the bushy head holding Pele's hand. I think I didn't wash my hand for about 7 months.
That was 94?
Yeah, it was 94.
In 94, Pele was down here?
Pele, yeah, he came to watch the final.
All right.
Yeah, and that team was littered with young stars.
All right.
Angus, myself, Jughead. Nixon, Jughead, Sherwin, Julian, Naked, Faustin, Baba, Dex Peck, Ross, Hayden Thomas. Lot of stars.
Yeah.
Lot of stars. That was
your highlight.
That was a real moment for me. That put my name in everybody's mouth, because the Shell Caribbean Cup at that time was the pinnacle of Caribbean football.
Right.
And Trinidad and Tobago, who we had just not qualified for Italy again, and most of the strike squad players now would have been phased out, and I think Kenny Joseph kept maybe about 5 or 6 of them, and he brought in a whole lot of young stars from different teams, and scoring a hat-trick on debut in Trinidad and Tobago for Trinidad and Tobago the first time. That was like, everybody knew who Dexter Cyrus was after that.
So, and you know your coach. Who, from then to now, who reminds you as a young player at that moment, or who you think was somebody similar to you, who
I can look at now?
The break? Yeah. Who would you say now that you would compare? Hey, this guy is like in my track, in my footsteps.
I used to look at the young Shaquille Henry.
Shaquille?
Yeah, the boy who they call Smek.
That is exactly who I'm thinking about.
Yeah.
Why I asked you a question?
Yeah.
Because
I used to
you give me that.
Yeah, okay. I used to look at him. Jeff said something, and I just want to go back to that before I continue.
Okay.
At a young age, when I was about maybe 10, I think it was my last year in primary school. I was 11.
Mm-hmm.
My uncle started carrying me by the club with him every day.
Mm-hmm.
And they registered me in different sporting denominations, right? So I was playing football, 2 in athletics, table tennis, and cricket. all that at the same time,
Yeah, yeah. Okay.
down at Palo Seco.
Right.
Because when you walked into the club, the cricketers are training here, then the hockey is here.
And track on the road.
Then when you walk in the back,
Yeah.
as you're passing, you see the clubhouse. The clubhouse has the table tennis players. Then you go to the back, you have the cyclists training and the athletes, and then down in the back, you have the basketballers. It was a hub of movement and athletes and everything.
That's what it used to be like.
So I'm playing more than one sport, right? To go back now to why I said Shaquille Henry. Now, I was blessed with, from a young age, with plenty speed, but I was a power runner. I was a very strong runner. And my athletic training, I never trained no million years to be no athlete. I just had that naturally. And they tell me, come and run for the club. And I
Yeah.
just didn't have that interest to run. But I used to be training because now football had its season.
Right.
Football used to play more from, you used to start to train for football or maybe in May.
May, June, yeah.
Yeah, and then you train out 2 months and then football start in June, July, all around there. Before that, now you want to stay active, you had to play cricket, you had to do athletics, and all them things like that. So just being a general sportsman, it helped the football too. Because now I I could run in behind and run the channels, and then I was still skillful and strong enough now to come and play with my back to the goal. So I had those both abilities. Now, I didn't know how good that made me. And apparently local coaches didn't know either. But every time a foreign coach came to Trinidad, I would be the starting striker. Every time a foreign coach came to Trinidad, the Brazilian, the 2 Germans, from the time they land and they saw the training, Cyrus, up top.
What about you, Jeff? You how did you?
Yeah, my the moments that stand out to me, and as I said, when you look back, everything happened for me quite quickly. Right? That from dedicating to football, because again, playing everything, fastball. I really like cricket, and I bowl quickly. I remember getting a pullover, one of those armless, pullovers. So
To keep you
one of
warm in
the-
this heat.
Well, you see them wearing it. Is that good?
You want to wear it too. Want to wear it too.
Yeah,
No, but the
look like if I
West
play
Indian-
in England.
Yeah.
West Indians wear it in England.
Yes, of course they play in England.
To feel warm, but
But I Ian Bishop, man, come on. Ian
Okay,
Bishop
go
was
ahead.
one of those.
sorry.
So I had my pullover, and they calling me Bishop as I come in. Yeah. So, but after 17, my career, took from 17 to 23 because I finished playing compared to 23. So
Supplementary.
everything, yeah. So all these moments happened in 7 years, for me.
Yeah.
From Giants, as I mentioned, I went to fire service. And again, I was in school when I started playing fire service. They would send the utility vehicle to pick me up, in school. It was quite a prips at the time because, they were calling him on the PA system, and my driver would be waiting, to take me to the east where we should train. And playing against, those days they had what they call the champion cup, right, a tournament. Fire service against Joe Public in the Center of Excellence. That game was something else. We as an unknown team at the time, we drew 1-1 with Joe Public, who had all your stars. And I mean, the game was outstanding. I could only hear people screaming. So
That was your highlight.
yeah, for me, that was one of the moments that, again, kept me as one of the goalkeepers who they would call up. And again, and the competition was quite stiff. Clayton Ince, Russ Russell, Michael McCormy, Hayden Thomas was still playing.
Why you choose to end the career at 23?
In injury, and it wasn't an injury that ended my career. but an injury that caused me to see things differently, right? I could have still continued playing. Dr. Henderson is one who always say you could play more, but at 19, I had the opportunity to begin doing my coaching education when FIFA launched its goalkeeping program for the first time. And I was one of the goalkeeper instructors, Mr. Lincoln Phillips, who also saw my talent, brought me in on that course, and I began pursuing
I was myself and Mr. Springer was on that course.
Right. So I continued to do my coaching education, and having a couple of my badges before I ended playing, I chose to transition. So in my last 2 seasons at W Connection, I was actually player coach. So I was working with the goalkeepers as their coach while being on the roster as well before making the transition out.
All right, so Dexter, your highlighted moment foreign in Portugal. How many years you play in Portugal to begin with?
About 3 seasons and 5 months.
Right, and so
3.5.
So you played with one club, or you had
Yeah, one club.
Okay, one club. So
I got a trials in Greece with Panathinaikos, but my agent wanted a finder's fee that was very
high,
and
They
when you reach in those situations, you're kind of overawed because now the size of the stadium and the amount of people just coming to watch you train is a whole different ball game, And then the thing about it is that sometimes we sell ourselves short. Sometimes we really don't know how good we are, how much talent we have in the Caribbean.
All right, let me take a break, and I'll let you pick up when we come back. Viewers, we'll be right back after the short break.
I was awful at my feet, and the confidence to put me in, right, although I with those clubs, caused me not to have played much more with those teams, and then impacted, on me again going onto the national team. But even so, I was able to play at under 20 level, Olympic team level. Actually, I was the starting goalkeeper there with Kelvin Jack.
Okay, welcome back, viewers. Guys. So, Cyrus, I wanted to get your most highlighted foreign moment. Obviously, we don't know about it. We haven't seen it, but you can give us a little bit of background on that.
Well, as I said, I wasn't immediately introduced into the team.
Because you didn't like to train?
No, I love training, but I wasn't up to that level. They thought that I was a little heavy,
right,
a little overweight, and yeah.
Were you? Did you think you were?
They didn't know it was muscle.
They did an analytical test on me, and then realized that
10% of fat.
That's just how he built.
Yeah.
That's just how he's built. I still threw off some pounds, but my fitness came up. But they have a way that you have to do weights.
I know.
And then go and train, and it was tough. But I came up to that level.
Right.
And that put me in a place where I was able to express myself a lot. We had only won about 5 out of 11, maybe 12 games, and then after I came up to that level and I got introduced, I started scoring from the get-go. I scored on debut. I ended up with 17 goals. As a matter of fact, I have top scored for every club I ever played for, which is another personal achievement that maybe people mightn't know. But I scored a hat trick to in a semi-final of the what we call the FA Cup in Portugal, in the semi-final of our division, to go on to once you reach the final, you qualify for the national. So that was to make us qualify for the national playoffs, and that was one of my most tied together with the debut goal. That would be my most
Would you say?
outstanding foreign moment.
Because to me, and just I follow my career, and to me, when you are at a certain age here in Trinidad, like when you're young, 17, 18, 19, and you get that break, they don't open up the gates enough for you to run. Do you feel like when you had that opportunity, when you were 17, 18, 19, if they had given you the freedom to go, you'd have been way further advanced, or you don't feel that way? Or did they give you that opportunity to run with it?
I myself and Peter Prosper were striking teammates for the same team. We used to take apart any defense
Right.
on any given day, right? Prosper didn't make the national team with me.
He came after?
No, he we were actually at the same era. He was dropped on the final cut together with that would be Ronald Carrington, Anthony Sherwood, a lot of top quality players in Trinidad were dropped on that final cut.
Here, my point here. When you were 19, 20, that was around strike score time, right?
Right, yeah.
So, if you were scoring goals and all of that, don't you think, because they bring up Dwight York into that squad?
Yeah, they brought Dwight York up.
So don't you feel like you got stifled a little bit? If you had get that exposure, you might have been.
I don't think they had the trust in us at that time.
Right.
I don't think they had the trust in us at that time.
How you compare against Palmo then? Filbert Jones.
I played with Filbert Jones.
Ability to play, to score goals.
Yeah, Palmo had incredible ability to score goals.
Right.
But the thing with Filbert Jones is that he would go through some dry patches where he wouldn't score for long periods.
Right.
But his ability,
Well,
his
of course,
fitness,
yeah.
and you couldn't. I think Palmo became a better goal scorer later on in his life. When that last 4 or 5 years when he was looking to finish play then with United Petrotrin, I think he became a better goal scorer.
So you would say your strength was you're a goal scorer.
Yeah.
You
bringing the rest of the team into play, blindsided defenders. People thought I was a left footer, but I'm not a left footer. I broke my right foot and learned to play with my left foot.
Right.
So people might think I'm a left footer, but I'm not a left. I could just handle the ball well with both feet, and then I had a very good ability to jump and head the ball also.
Right.
So added that to I had a immaculate first touch. So being able to hold up the ball was also a strong asset of mine.
As you say, ability to hit the ball, you know Saddle,
Yeah,
Front Rows. He can do that.
yeah.
He was around strikes for time too. He got sacked off of that team.
Yeah.
Which I thought he should have been on that team.
Yeah, yeah.
So how do you compare with him? Because you guys sound like you had real good scorers in that time.
We had that era was blessed with real quality footballers who were the generation above who was going out. Right. What we have to credit Kenny Joseph for was being brave enough to say, "Here, what you all had your time," and he pushed out the guys and them up there on the strike squad who was Filbert Jones, a lot of them. And he brought in now the young, fresh under 21s, right? At that time, well, under 21s. He brought in the young, fresh under 21s who would have been 2021.
This is after the strike squad.
Right, in 1994, and drop us in, bam,
Okay.
to play Shell Caribbean Cup And to be honest, he got it right because we won the Shell Caribbean Cup.
So was that timely? Your introduction into the national team, was that timely, or you felt like you've held back? You could have gone earlier.
I thought I could have made the national senior team earlier.
Right.
I thought I could have made it. But then I would be still fighting up with Leonson Lewis,
Philbert Jones.
Philbert Jones, Clint Marcel, and all these strikers, Elliot Allen, a couple of them. But I felt when I trained with them that I was on par with them.
Right.
But they had the name. They had nobody didn't know who was Dexter Cyrus. They had the name. They already had the coach's trust. They already had the trust of the general public of Trinidad and Tobago. So me biding my time for a couple of years, it didn't do me anything.
It was nothing.
It didn't do me anything.
What about you as a goalkeeper? Have you felt like I could have got a break earlier, and if I did, maybe I would have taken it further, or what? How you felt about that?
No, I was honestly in awe of the goalkeepers who I got to train with. When I went around the national team, they were, 5, 6 years ahead,
yeah.
and
that time you were, was Ross
Ross
Hayden
Ince.
Makomi.
Makomi wasn't even in that mix.
Had some goal.
They brought me that
was,
era.
Normal,
I remember
a proper
Shaka
goalkeeper
as well wasn't brought in because Shaka was still abroad, and Shaka came in a little bit later than these guys.
Then.
We had a lot of quality goalkeepers,
Yeah.
a lot of quality goalkeepers at that time.
Yeah.
And these are the guys who were around the national team. So for me, it was a privilege, a real honor to be there. I believe that Isa and Hannibal Naja and the coaches who gave me the opportunity saw something and allowed me to really get into there. One of my biggest weaknesses, which I think impacted on me really having more playing time, even when I progressed later on, was the ability to play with my feet. Now, if I had gone to another club that played in a different style, I went to Derby Connection, and they wanted to, play a lot of possession football, out to the back, that type of thing. My inability with my feet, not being the modern goalkeeper, I was shot stopper, I was good in the air and stuff like that, but my feet, I was horrible. I was awful at my feet. And the confidence to put me in, right, although I was with those clubs, caused me not to have played much more with those teams, and then impacted, on me again going onto the national team. But even so, I was able to play at under 20 level, Olympic team level. Actually, I was the starting goalkeeper there with Kelvin Jack, as a reserve. But I don't believe that I was ready to make that step at that time when I was introduced. I thought that we had goalkeepers with way more experience and who were ready to play at that time, and they did fantastic. I mean, Russ Russell was a real beast in training, and that guy was something else.
Russ and Ince.
So for two of you guys, what would you do differently if we can turn back in time at that point when you get national call-up? Would you or could you have done anything differently to be more advanced in your career?
For me, I didn't understand diet until I went to Portugal.
Right.
When I came back from Portugal, that's when I was able to manage my body the right way. For me, I would have liked to be able to, from maybe in my late teens, eat differently.
So you think your size was your setback if you were 10 pounds less or whatever?
I don't think my size was my setback. I think not knowing how to eat made your fitness drop
Or your fitness?
too low,
Okay.
and then you always have to be working hard to come back up to that level. So because I didn't understand, when I understood how to deal with my body in the off season, that is when I was able to hold my fitness for the entire year. In the off season, not in season. So you find that because Trinidad and Tobago football had in season and off season for so long, sometimes it's 4 months, 5 months, you're off. You know?
But that's what we want. As a professional, we look forward to the off season to get us ready for the next season.
Right.
It means we go to the gym.
Right.
That's when you work the hardest.
But our off season was too long. You know, off season as a professional is 6-7 weeks. And that's it.
Yeah, you got 4 months. We had
We had months off growing up. So you don't know how to eat. You might put on a little 10, 15 pounds, but you're not to say like you're getting fat or anything. But you really don't know how to eat. You're just eating based on the fact that that's what mommy cook.
Yeah.
So you're eating.
You're a greedy fellow, Cyrus.
No,
You eat too much.
What used to happen was, based on when I got the knowledge, then I realized, no.
What was your weight? What was your weight at that time in your during those times? Your football weight?
My playing weight was 175, anywhere between 175 and 180.
And how much you were how much above that you were? You had to break down to come to that.
Maybe about
200?
10, 15 pounds I had to break down, you know. But it across the body, you know. So it's not to say like you stay that size and you get a big belly, or you know, it wasn't like that. But
Well, I'm glad you're talking about that because I hope kids listening.
yeah, the fitness and nutrition goes hand in hand. The fitness and nutrition goes hand in hand.
Right.
You can't divorce the fitness and the nutrition. But we didn't know that. We didn't know these things. We didn't know about drinking certain things and all these.
Right.
All this feel well, you had to drink enough water. You know what I mean? We didn't know about carbon up and eating certain proteins, and we didn't know all these things. We didn't know. I didn't know.
Right. I understand.
When I got exposed to it in Portugal and I actually understood what was going on, that is when I realized, right.
What about you, Jeff? You had ever had that struggle with weight?
No, I actually physically my training regime was different. I always my dad bought us an exercise bench, and we would I was a real, you know, I loved training. We lived between two hills.
Yeah, that,
and I'd get up in the morning time.
I remember that about Jeff.
I'd hit them hills.
Jeff
hard.
was a training freak.
Yeah, I would hit them hills real, and that's before I go to school. So the training for me always came as something that I like to do. For me, I think that technical aspect was one, particularly with my feet, because understanding that when I began playing, goalkeepers could actually pick the ball up and, you know, give it back. That was, you know, so just in that moment there, and seeing that I didn't have, you know, most keepers, they transition from playing outfield and then they go into the goal. I sweat, you know, home with my brothers and stuff. So coming into the game, going to a team that depends on you or wants you to play with the ball a lot with your feet, I think that was one of the things that kind of limited, you know, my scope, right? But another highlight that I would like to make came as a coach. I started coaching quite early when we qualified for the under-20 championships, world championship in Egypt.
Well, good.
Yeah.
Okay, so Cyrus, do you know how many goals you've scored? And how many games you played with national team? We don't have much time. So.
I know I have 17 national goals. So I can't remember how many games I played.
Okay.
I can't remember how many games I played.
So, but hearing you, it looks like the show changed you. I'm glad I get a chance to
But
talk a little bit.
I was pretty much satisfied with my dream.
Okay.
When you have a dream,
Mhm.
when you have a dream and the naysayers or the negatives can't really get into your head. Once you have that dream, that you had that focus, things become easy because
Okay.
hard training becomes easy if you love the sport.
All right, guys. I'm glad I get to know you guys a little better. It took a little thing, but that's good. Thank you for being here. Appreciate it.
Always pleasure.
It's
Pleasure,
again,
Steve.
thanks for the opportunity. And the viewers, thanks for tuning in. And we have a Facebook page, you can check us out. We also have an email address, feederdreamtv@gmail.com, where you can drop us a line. This show is ended. Good peace. I'm Steve David.